Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. We have a new little addition today for today's video. He's a little fussy, so I'm gonna try and get through this as quickly as possible, but he's gonna be a little screamy and a little loud, so I hope you guys don't mind that. But this is baby KYLIE. His name is KYLIE Jacob Cross, and his name comes from a national park in Alaska, and it's actually a place that my husband grew up going to all the time. He has family there, and it's just a really special place to us, and we loved the name, so that is where his name comes from, if you guys are curious. But today we're going to be talking all about his birth story, and I'm going to be telling you guys all the details on how things went. It is so surreal to be filming this video because I've been doing so many pregnancy videos and it felt like the birth would never come, and it's here, it's happened, and now I'm sharing the birth story with you guys. If you guys aren't subscribed, definitely make sure to subscribe for more videos of this little guy and just for more baby videos in general. Also give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy birth videos, because I watched so many of these before I had him, and I just love hearing all the different stories and how each birth is so different. Alright, so if you guys want to hear all about his birth story, then let's get on into it. So if you guys have been following along on my videos, you know my due date was January 4th, 2021. Some of the doctors thought I might be a little bit ahead of that. They thought maybe he would come December 27th, and that would be a general better due date, but nope, he went way past that date and way past the 4th, so they scheduled me for an induction on January 6th, just to make sure he wasn't getting too big, and I was getting very uncomfortable. So I was ready to have him, ready to get induced, and there were no signs of labor happening at all. I tried literally everything. I ate pineapple, bounced on the bouncy ball, did walks every single day, and there wasn't even a budge or anything. At my last doctor's appointment before the induction, I was still only at like 1 to 1.5 centimeters dilated, so they said they were going to start me on cytotec to kind of get the labor going, and then the induction would officially start on the next day. So my husband and I went into the hospital on the night of the 6th, and they checked us in at 7:30, and basically we got in there. It was so weird because it was like super slow. Like, you picture a labor and delivery being like super hectic, running into the hospital, like trying to get to the room, but since we were being induced, we literally just parked, brought all our bags in, they got us all checked in, and it was kind of a slow start. We got all up into the room probably around like 8 o'clock-ish, and I changed into my gown. They finally got the IV going, and honestly I feel like this is when I was most nervous during the whole labor. I don't know why. It was just probably all the anticipation of everything, just knowing what's to come. It was pretty scary. But yeah, I tried to calm down as much as possible. Then they started the cytotec, which is a pill that they actually insert vaginally to get the labor started and get your cervix softening more. And they did check me before they did the pill, and I was still only at 1 centimeter, so they couldn't start me right away on pitocin, which was what I was kind of hoping for, but they still just decided to go and start with the cytotec. And then once the cytotec is inserted, they have to check your blood pressure every 30 minutes, every hour, and then right when they insert it as well. So there were nurses coming in all the time to check me, and this was overnight, so we did get some sleep, but there were nurses coming in all the time. Plus I had the IV in, so going to the bathroom was a struggle, having to roll around the little IV bag and stuff. But after they did all the blood pressure checks, they said that they would just let the cytotec kind of do its thing and check us in about a few hours. So then they came in at 1 a.m. and they checked me again, and I was at a 2 to 2.5. So I was definitely progressing. I wasn't really feeling many contractions. I was able to sleep. And then they also inserted the next round of the cytotec at 1 a.m. as well. And so they had to do more blood pressure checks. So they did it right when they inserted it, 30 minutes later, and then an hour later. And then they said they were gonna let that go for another 3 hours, see how that progressed me, and we would go from there. 3 hours later would be 4 a.m. So 4 a.m. they came in and checked me. The contractions were definitely starting to get more painful, and I was definitely like uncomfortable. It felt like really, really bad period cramps. And that's when they started keeping me up at 4 a.m. I knew since they were starting to keep me up that we were getting somewhere. So the nurses asked me how I was doing, and I said I was in a little bit of pain. It was bearable, but it was still not comfortable. Then they asked me if I wanted to move forward with anything to relieve some of the pain. So they said that an option was fentanyl, which is something that they put into your IV, and it just kind of makes you like a little loopy. They said it's kind of like you're a little bit tipsy. After going back and forth with the nurses for a little bit, I decided I did want to go ahead and do some fentanyl in my IV. So they did 1 round of that, and it did start to make me really, really nauseous, which they said is a side effect of that. Also, something new they've been doing for nausea is those little alcohol wipes that you use for like sanitizing. I guess if you start like sniffing them and holding them up to your nose, it really helps with the nausea. So they did give me some of those and that really did help. I just kind of held them by my face, smelled it, breathed it in, and it really did help. I still was pretty nauseous, so they did give me some anti-nausea medication, which really, really helped once it kicked in. But yeah, this was all at 4 a.m. So they did all that, gave me the fentanyl. I kind of calmed down a little bit and was able to sleep a little bit more. And then the next check was at 6 a.m. So they came in at 6. They gave me more fentanyl and they checked me and I was at a 3 centimeters. So they're deciding whether or not to start pitocin or to do more cytotec. So the nurse went out of the room to talk to my doctor and kind of decide what to do. And while they were out of the room, my water broke. It's so funny because I knew instantly that it had broken. It literally felt like a big pop. And then I just felt this huge gush of water come out that literally felt like I was peeing myself. But because of the big pop that I felt, I knew it was exactly my water breaking. And I looked over at Jacob and I said, "Oh, I think my water just broke," and it definitely had. So he called in the nurse, they checked me again, and she said, "Oh, yep, your water did definitely break." Immediately after that is when my contractions really started to pick up. I want to say within like 2 minutes, they started getting super regular, super close together. My mom had told me from her birth with me that as soon as her water broke, the labor went super fast and she didn't have time to get the epidural. So I knew when my water broke on its own that definitely the epidural was something I needed to consider pretty soon, and the contractions were getting really painful because of my water breaking. We kind of let the contractions do their thing for about 45 minutes, and then at 7 o'clock the nurses came in again and asked me if I did in fact want the epidural, and I was debating. I didn't know. I wanted to try and go a little bit longer. They checked me and said I was now at a 4, so things were definitely progressing, and I didn't want things to slow down too much, so I was trying to decide if I did want the epidural at that point. But then another contraction came and I was like, yes, let's just do the epidural now. This is painful, and especially knowing with my mom's labor how quick it went, I did not want to risk not getting the epidural. So there weren't that many couples in the hospital we were delivering at, so the anesthesiologist was able to come in really quickly after that. I think he came in at like 7:15, and they said the epidural would only take about 10 minutes, and honestly it felt way quicker than that. At the hospital we were delivering at, they don't let the husbands like stand next to you or hold you during the epidural because they've had so many husbands pass out, and the hospital I was delivering at is specifically only for women and newborns, so they have to transfer you to another hospital if you pass out. So it's just really complicated if the husband passes out and they can't do anything about it. So anyways, Jacob had to sit in a little chair off to the side of the room. But I feel like that was honestly better for him because he didn't have to worry about standing up or watching the needle or anything. So the nurse that I had at the time was standing in front of me and I was kind of crouched over. I put my head on her shoulder and just like held her arms, and she was the sweetest nurse ever. Like, honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better nurse for the first like 12 hours of my labor. She was so amazing. I really wish I could have had her the whole time, but the nurses changed like every 12 hours. So we did end up having a few different nurses, but that nurse was super great. The anesthesiologist was super nice. He said, "I can explain everything to you or I can just get it done." And I was like, just get it done. I don't need to know everything that's going on back there. Just do it and do it quickly. They got me all into position, and since my water had broken, it was literally gushing everywhere. They make you sit in like a crisscross sitting position and the water was just gushing. I felt like I was gonna get up and it was just gonna be a pool of water. It was very uncomfortable. But they do a little numbing shot of the area, and honestly that was the only part that hurt, and it didn't even hurt that bad. It just felt like a little shot. And then they obviously do the epidural part, which it doesn't hurt at all. You can just kind of feel the needle going up a little bit, but I was just like so in the zone for some reason and just like into my breathing that it didn't really faze me, and I was ready to not feel the contractions anymore. Honestly, epidural was super easy, a breeze for me, and definitely not hard at all. So if you're considering getting the epidural, because I know a lot of people can kind of get scared of it, it was definitely something that I was really scared of at first. It was super easy. Like, I have no fear of doing it again, and yeah, if you're considering it, it's really easy, don't worry about it. So they probably finished the epidural around 7:45. They said they were just gonna let that go, see how far I progressed after the epidural, because the epidural can kind of slow things down sometimes and make contractions a little bit further apart. So they were just gonna kind of see how it went and see if I needed pitocin in like an hour or so. So they came in at 8:30 in the morning and I hadn't really progressed at all. So they decided to put me on pitocin and hopefully that would speed things up a little bit. Then soon after that at 8:45, I started feeling really nauseous and a lot of pressure. So they did give me more anti-nausea medication. They told me to click the little epidural button a few more times because I hadn't pressed it enough. They said if I was feeling a lot of pressure down there, that means that I just hadn't had enough of the epidural in me yet. So I did press the button and that helped so much. And then from 8:45 to about 11:15, we just kind of let the pitocin do its thing. I was feeling really nauseous during this time, sniffing a ton of alcohol wipes. They gave me some blood pressure medication because his heart rate was going down during some of the contractions, so they wanted to make sure that that didn't happen anymore. I had some popsicles. That was pretty much the only thing I could eat. They did have a pebble ice machine, but it was broken for like the first half of my labor, which was such a bummer because I was really looking forward to having some of that pebble ice, but it did get fixed later, so that was a good thing. Also during this time I got super hungry, which was a bummer. So like I said, I did have a few popsicles, and then they did use the peanut ball to kind of flip me from side to side and get my cervix softening some more and hopefully dilate me some more. So the nurse would come in like every hour, flip me to the other side to make sure the epidural was working on both sides. So then at 11:15, she came in and checked me and I was at a 4.5, so not super progressed at all, but I was 80% effaced. So they upped my pitocin to hopefully have that do something. Then she came in again at around 11:55, so kind of noonish, and I was dilated to a 5.5, so a whole centimeter dilated, and I was 90% effaced. So definitely progressing slowly but surely. Baby's heart rate was still kind of going down during the contractions, so they did put me on an oxygen mask, and that really helped his heart rate get back to normal, which was great. So the next check was at 2:40, and they checked me and I was at a 7 to an 8. So I was definitely progressed a lot, and I upped the epidural a little bit more. I put on here in my notes that I started to feel really good. We kept switching sides and I had another popsicle, and it was just kind of some downtime. I think we FaceTimed some family, updated them, and I think we tried to get a little bit more sleep at that point because we were pretty tired. So the next check was at 5:00 p.m. and I put on here that we had been sleeping. They started another round of pitocin to move the baby down a little bit more because I was dilating good, but the baby wasn't really moving down far enough, so they thought pitocin might help him kind of move down the birth canal a little bit more and make pushing a little bit easier. I was watching some Friends episodes, and finally the ice machine started working, so that was amazing. I had some ice, watched some Friends. I think Jacob got some sleep. Yeah, we just kind of waited it out a little bit more. And then the next check was at 6 o'clock, and I was at a 10. So 10 centimeters, ready to go, ready to push him out. We did a few practice pushes, but she said that I wasn't quite ready because he was still pretty high up there. So they wanted me to labor down, which is basically just letting the contractions bring the baby down on their own without pushing. So we just kind of laid there, waited around for a little bit, hoping that he would move down further a little bit more to make the pushing easier. And I think I labored down for about an hour, and then they came in at 7. I put that I was really shaky. I couldn't feel much of the practice pushes just because of the epidural. It was really hard to know like where I was pushing, so they wanted me to stop pressing the button for the epidural so I could get a little bit more feeling back. And then at 7 o'clock, I officially started pushing. On here, I put after 2 hours of pushing, I started to lose hope. This was the hardest thing I've ever done. I was trying really hard not to cry because I wasn't sure if I was doing anything right because the nurse wouldn't really say anything. I would ask her, you know, like, was that a good push? Like, did that do anything? And she'd be like, we're getting somewhere. So she wasn't really encouraging me, wasn't really just being a good support person like I was mentioning. Jacob was really great during this pushing time though. He was reminding me to breathe. He was reminding me that the baby would be here soon and that it would all be over soon. And honestly, if he hadn't stepped in and been super encouraging like that, I would not have gotten through it. The doctor came in and he was crowning. We were ready to get him out. And I remember at this point, I felt like the doctor was moving so slow. Like she came into the room, was putting her shoes on, and I could feel another contraction coming. And I was like, why is there nobody like standing where the baby's coming? Because I feel this contraction coming and I need to push. And I told the nurses, I was like, I feel like I need to push. I really need to push. And they were like, you're just gonna breathe through this one. You got it. And I was like, how am I gonna breathe through this contraction? I really felt like I needed to push, and they were just coaching me through it, breathing. And then finally the doctor was ready. We all got into position. And at this point I felt like there were like 20 people in the room. I think there probably were around like 10 to 12 people in the room, just for all the different things. The doctor was like, okay, let's get this baby out. I think he'll be here in like 2 pushes, so let's do it. And that was really encouraging because I was ready to be done and ready to meet him and just ready to push him out. So everyone got into position, and sure enough, 2 pushes later, he was out, and it was such a surreal feeling. You honestly really can't describe it unless you've been through it. Just like the relief, the happiness. I couldn't help but cry just from like joy of being done, joy of meeting him, and just like all the emotions. So it was such a great feeling. He did cry a little bit when he came out, but not as much as they had hoped. So they tried to get some liquid out of his lungs, but he still had a lot of liquid. So they had to take him away just to a little bassinet in the corner and kind of suck out some more liquid. Which is a problem that my husband Jacob had when he was born. So that wasn't something super shocking. So after they got all the liquid out of him, they brought him over to me and put him on my chest, and we did some skin to skin. That was just so amazing. Like, that feeling is seriously like nothing else. I just remember being so relieved that it was over and that he was here. And I just loved looking up at Jacob and just seeing tears in his eyes and just being so happy that he was here. So it was about a 26-hour labor altogether from the very beginning, but from when my water broke it was about 15-ish hours. So I would consider the labor starting when my water broke. That's when things really picked up. So it didn't feel super long, but the pushing definitely felt like an eternity. That was the hardest part of the whole thing for sure, just because it took so long. That is because he weighed 9 pounds 7 ounces. So he was a very big boy, and the nurses were all very impressed that I pushed him out for my first baby. And they were like, that is why it took so long, because he is a huge baby. And he definitely is, but we love every little part of him. And then my husband Jacob did get to cut the cord, which was so surreal. He wasn't sure if he was gonna be able to do it, but he was doing really great, so he was able to do that. I did have a 2nd-degree tear, and she said most of it was internal. So it did take about 40 to 45 minutes for them to stitch me back up, and that part wasn't painful, but I could definitely feel like the pulling of the stitches, which was not fun. But again, because of the epidural, I couldn't feel it. It didn't feel painful. It was just like the idea in my head that she was stitching me back together was kind of intimidating, but he was on my chest and Jacob was holding my hand, so it was pretty easy to get through, but definitely not fun. So altogether, he was born at 9:29 p.m. He was 9 pounds 7 ounces, 21.5 inches long, and then his head was 34 centimeters around. So he was definitely a big baby, a big boy, but we're so happy that he's here. And honestly, I couldn't have imagined my birth going any other way. And that is little Kenai Jacob's birth story. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We did do a vlog on the whole story. If you guys want to go watch it, it's over on our vlog channel. That one isn't as like in-depth talking to you guys. It's more just kind of stuff that was happening in the moment. But if you guys want to see it all happen in action, then definitely go check out that video over there. Here he is. I'll try and give you guys a better shot. He's very sleepy right now, surprisingly. So here he is. Oh, big yawn. Yeah, he is just the sweetest thing ever. So sleepy. He's been doing great nursing. And today he is actually 1 week old, which I cannot believe. He's already a week old. It's making me sad. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to his birth story. Definitely subscribe if you aren't already for more videos of him and more newborn stuff to come. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy birth videos. Thank you guys so much for following along on his pregnancy journey. It has been such a wild, crazy, awesome adventure, and it's been so fun to make videos for you guys about it. Yeah, I just can't believe the journey's over and that he's here. I feel like it went so fast, but also so slow at the same time. time. We're just in heaven. We're just loving every moment with him. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Can you say bye? Bye, guys.